The empty cradle. In a quiet village tucked between golden wheat fields and winding rivers lived a woman named Amina. She had a heart so vast it could hold oceans and dreams as delicate as the silk she wove with her hands. Amina had been married to Haris for 10 years, and though their love had grown like vines wrapping around a home, their house had always been silent, too silent. Every year, Amina planted tulips in the garden, whispering a prayer with each seed. She believed that one day a child would run barefoot through those flowers, laughing in the sun. But the years passed and the tulips bloomed for no one. She had tried everything: herbal remedies from village elders, long journeys to distant cities for treatments, even fasting and prayer through sleepless nights. Each time, she returned with hope tucked under her arm, only for it to wither away quietly in the darkness. The village changed over time. Her friends who once shared dreams of motherhood now juggled toddlers on their hips and worries in their eyes. Invitations to baby showers began to arrive less often, out of kindness, perhaps, or pity. The sound of lullabies drifting from neighboring homes was both a comfort and a curse. But Haris never blamed her. Not once. He would hold her hand every time the doctor said, "Not this time," and say, "We still have each other." She would smile through the tears, aching that she couldn't give him the one thing he deserved most. One rainy evening, Amina stood by the window, watching the drops race down the glass. She saw a young boy slip on the muddy road and cry out. Without hesitation, she rushed outside, scooped him up, and carried him home, her shawl shielding him from the storm. That moment changed something in her. Years later, Amina and Haris opened a small home for orphan children. The rooms that once echoed with silence now overflowed with giggles, spilled milk, and bedtime stories. Her arms, once empty, became a haven for many. And though none of them came from her womb, they grew from the love in her heart. Till every spring she planted tulips in her garden. But now tiny hands helped her bury the seeds, and their laughter bloomed before the flowers ever did. Moral: sometimes motherhood isn't defined by biology, but by the capacity to love, heal, and give. You said. Continue. ChatGPT said. As the seasons passed, Amina's home became a sanctuary, not just for the children, but for the broken, the forgotten, and the weary. Word spread across nearby towns of the woman with soft eyes and a warm lap, who had turned her sorrow into shelter. There was Saif, a boy of 6 who had lost his parents in a fire and hadn't spoken a word since. He clung to Amina's shawl for weeks like it was a lifeline. Each night she would sit beside him, reading fairy tales until one day, he softly whispered, "Read more." It was the first time his voice broke the silence. Amina cried quietly in the dark that night, not out of sadness but because she finally heard the miracle her heart had longed for. Then there was little Zara, born with a weak heart and abandoned at the doorstep of a mosque. The doctors had little hope, but Amina never left her side, holding her through every fever, every sob. Though Zara's time on earth was short, she died in Amina's arms, not as an orphan but as a daughter deeply loved. Grief never truly left Amina. It lived in her bones like winter, but it transformed. No longer a cold emptiness, but a bittersweet ache that reminded her she had known deep love, even if it came in unexpected forms. One day, when her hair had turned silver and her hands trembled as she tied her apron, Haris found her in the tulip garden again. Children, now grown, visited with their own little ones, calling her Nanny Amina. They brought her letters, handmade cards, and photographs of their lives, all rooted in the soil of her compassion. As the sun dipped low behind the hills, Amina whispered to Haris, "I may not have carried them inside me, but I carried every one of them in my soul." He wrapped his arm around her frail shoulders, kissed her forehead, and said, "And they will carry you in theirs forever." That night, as stars bloomed across the sky, Amina sat quietly by the cradle she had carved herself decades ago. It had never rocked a newborn. Yet now it held a quilt sewn from pieces of children's clothes, each square stitched with a memory. And in that moment, with the wind whispering through the tulips and laughter echoing in the distance, the once barren woman felt full of love, of life, and of meaning. 'Cause some wombs bring life, but some hearts give it.